Following segment on KROC AM is sponsored by the Gwaltney Group of RE/MAX Results. And Robin Gwaltney joins me in the studio this morning. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning.
Another nice, bright, sunny day.
Loving this.
It's just such a streak.
Just on the way here, I drove past painters painting the exterior of a house mid-November.
That's not usually the time to happen.
Love it.
They better get done in a hurry because we're going to go down well below freezing by the end of this week. At least for Lowe's. What are we talking about today?
Well, 1 week post-election, well, tomorrow's 1 week, I've been getting a lot of phone calls and questions about how will President Trump affect the housing market.
Really?
Yeah, and of course...
I guess I hadn't thought about that. You think about the markets, you think about everything else, but okay, real estate. He is a real estate guy.
He is, and so, it's like anything else, depending on what point of view you look at it from, you can interpret it quite differently.
Now, going into it, you didn't really thought about much about it.
I
right?
hadn't. I really hadn't.
You get so many people calling up, you figured, well, let's dig into this and see what some of the other people are saying.
Exactly. And I found some pretty interesting quotes that I thought I would share. From one article, it says, the last time we had real estate deal makers as U.S. presidents were our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, who loved their property holdings and made sure the U.S. Constitution protected them.
All right.
So, that
so
being
it's
said,
been a while. Usually we have lawyers and
generals,
judges.
Yes. Occasional movie star.
Occasional.
Anyway, so, I've been reading a lot of articles because, of course, I don't have the answer to that question, but I'm intrigued,
So at this point, there's a lot of speculation, but what do they lean for?
Well,
there
are some things that are a little more than speculation. Like we all know that part of Trump's platform was to focus on some deregulation, possibly reversing DoddFrank. And
that was legislation that was passed in 2010.
Correct.
What did Dodd-Frank do?
Well, tightened up things so that it wasn't quite as easy to get loans. Okay, so basically raised the minimum credit scores and required more verification.
Okay, because after the crash in 2008. Part of the reason was that it was so easy to get loans. They were giving out loans left and right, and then people found out they couldn't afford them.
Right. I think they could afford them on paper, but then when it came to real-life living, it wasn't quite as easy. So, that was put into place to try to put a closer watch on banks to make sure they were being more responsible in how much money they were giving to who.
Yeah.
So, obviously, lifting those regulations could be music to many people's ears because people who are working hard and making good money but have maybe screwed up their credit along the way and their credit's not as good, they might think, well, this is good. Now I have that ability to, that piece of the American dream, home ownership. And I think that in that case, if regulations, and there's no, like you said, it's speculation. There's no proof that this is going to happen.
And it's not like he can just come in and say, this is done, this is done, this is done. It's got to go through Congress.
Exactly. But I think that if those things are loosened up, we probably will see a burst in home sales. I think that there'll be that excitement of more people being able to get houses, and so they'll be buying them.
But there's also the danger, conversely, that we go back to where we were, where everybody was getting a loan, and those that really probably shouldn't have gotten a loan did, and then we've got foreclosures, and, well, wait a minute, the real estate investors can buy up some cheap property and make a killing again.
Exactly. So, what happens if all of a sudden there's this whole pool of buyers that are now out there and can buy houses? We've been talking all summer long about a shortage of inventory, right?
Right.
And with the shortage of inventory, the prices go up. So if all of a sudden we've got a whole bunch more buyers and we have not enough inventory, potentially we could see real estate prices going up, up, up.
Yeah.
And so maybe our interest rates will come down. As of right now, the interest rates are creeping up. And I don't know if that's just a knee-jerk reaction to the election. Likely it is. But I think the first day after the election, the rates hiked by 0.25%. And since then, there's been 2 more hikes of 0.125%. So we're up 0.5% in a week.
Yeah. Overall, real estate people that you've talked with or read about, among the things that you researched, feel pretty good about, confident with Trump in office? Or?
I think so. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are some potential dangers of...
And it's all speculation anyway.
Exactly.
At this point, so.
Exactly. So, I guess I'm going to be like every other, at least most other Americans, and just hope that everything to come is going to be good. You got to think positive.
Well, it sure is a nice day today.
It's definitely a nice day today. You got that right.
Sometimes you just got to live day to day.
Yep. And you just have to focus on the positive because you know what? If you just said what a crappy day it is in your mind, it's a crappy day, right? We have so much power over what life really is.
So, and live it day to day. Prepare for tomorrow, though, because you've got to hope that tomorrow is going to be here. And
exactly.
I think it will. I really do think it will.
It's going to be. I'm pretty sure.
Meantime, did you have a busy weekend?
Well, I had a great weekend.
Yeah.
Left my husband home to work, took care of all my clients for me, while I took my daughter off on a wedding dress hunting expedition.
Well, that's pretty tough.
Yeah, we went shopping in Chicago. It was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if somebody has a listing or wants to think about selling their home or maybe in the market to buy something and they want to get a hold of a good realtor like, say, Robin Gwaltney, how would they do that? I would be happy to help, and my cell phone number is 507-259-4926. All right. Robin, you have yourself a great week. What's the website address? WaltneyGroup.com. Excellent. All right. We'll talk to you next Monday. Sounds great.